If everybody could take their seats and get ready. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat this morning. And get ready to hear our speaker. Okay. Thank you. Is everyone here? Are we missing somebody? I think we're missing somebody. Excuse me. In any event, okay, I'm going to introduce the speaker, Viktoria Nikola, who immigrated to America from Russia with her family in 1991. Had to learn English after she was here. Did a fine job of it, I'm sure. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in history and the classics from UC Davis. Then later earned a master's degree and a doctorate in traditional Chinese medicine. So very, very highly educated. So in her day job, she's an acupuncturist. Is that correct? Okay. But she loves writing and has produced 3 fantasy novels. The most recent, a historical fantasy set in Russia titled Vengeance in Flames, which is for sale up here on the credenza. Okay, take a look at that if you'd like. And this is based on a real person who lived in the 1st century AD, right? Okay, all that said, what Viktoria is going to talk to us about today has nothing to do with all this. It's about her her experiences as an interviewer of authors, fiction, and literary agents on YouTube. Okay, this is an activity she had for a while. She has temporarily suspended it because she had a baby last year, and you know how they take a lot of care, right? But we asked her here anyway to share such an interesting and exciting adventure because once we heard that she had done this, we wanted to hear about it for ourselves. So, and how she went about organizing the whole thing. So, what she's going to tell us about, what we wanted to hear about, okay, are the channels, options, the YouTube, podcasts, other social media, how and where you meet authors and agents to invite them onto your channel, how to convince them to let you interview them, okay, in the first place, and the pros and cons of having such a channel. And anyway, so the title of her talk is, sorry, I think I've got the microphone too close. Of her talk is YouTube channel Journey Interviewing Writers and Agents. If you would please welcome Viktoria Nikola.
Hello, everybody. Well, I originally didn't realize the talk was supposed to go 30 to 45 minutes. And so my intro was like basically that. So she took like 5 minutes away from it. I'm just kidding. That was good. That's good. But let me tell you a little bit, at least like fill in the little gaps about myself too. So I went from history to acupuncture within a year. You know, it was kind of a big jump. But what happened was I thought I wanted to be an archaeologist. And, oh, hang on. I think I hear myself echoing maybe. I don't know. It sounds okay? Okay. Okay, cool. I'm just going to stand further away so I don't hear it. But basically, I thought I was going to be an archaeologist, decided to do an archaeological internship in Israel in 2008. And it's a good thing I did because I hated it. You know, you see like the glamour side of archaeology when they found stuff, but it's like years and years of just digging through dirt. And it's pretty hard labor. So, but it wasn't even, I think I could have handled the hard labor if it wasn't for, there's this like weird, I don't know if anybody has like a scholarly background, but there's like a little bit of like a scholarly ego and so much drama that seems really silly, but like which professor do you know and what article you published, and I just couldn't handle it. So anyways, I came back and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I just studied history for 4 years and classics. And I did, I was thinking, I'll just do like a management internship somewhere. And I found an event management internship at an acupuncture association. That's how I got into acupuncture. But while I was in acupuncture school, I realized how much I love history and language and writing and classics. And I was like, okay, I have to like find a channel. And that's how I wrote my first novel. So that's like the gist of why I am the things that I am. And then I actually, in 2016 was my first self-published novel. There is like a series, there was 2 of them. And they are about that archaeological journey, kind of inspired. It's like an Indiana Jonesy adventure, like what I envisioned the adventure to be, not the boring adventure that I got. And then I kind of burned out on self-publishing because, as those of you who've done it know, how you wear all the hats and it's exhausting. And so I thought, I'm gonna try to do the traditional route. So I queried for another. Another what? I don't know, that's 6 years, 8 years. And last year I decided, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So I went back to self-publishing. But, from 2016 to now, it's 10 years and it's just so much. There's so much more, even though in 2016 there was already a lot for indies. But anyways, you guys all know that information. So here we go. Let's get into the writing journey. And in part, the reason I wanted to talk about the books and the background is because I started the YouTube channel a little bit about to get into my writing experience. So, and also kind of connect all the weird hodgepodge things that I'm interested in. So I think in 2016, I self-published. 2018, I started the YouTube channel. And I called it, like, my little tagline was a hodgepodge of goodness. And I literally talked about everything and anything that I was interested, which was herbal medicine, acupuncture, writing, traveling. And then I started to like slightly begin to interview, but it was interviewing people around me that I thought were interesting, that were doing creative things. Anything from like creative business stuff to healing stuff to writing stuff. So this was one of my first interviews. This is what I did, like a screenshot of what it looked like. This is me holding my first 2 books. And then I was interviewing, she's a health coach. So again, everything and anything on my channel. And then I decided to niche down. As I continued to do this, I realized, it was just too broad a net I cast, and I needed to kind of tailor it. That's what a lot of marketing professionals say. And so I decided to niche down to interviewing authors. And the reason I did this is because I wanted to network in the industry. I didn't know many authors in real life. I didn't know groups like this existed. Probably should just Googled it. But I was pretty involved because I self-published those books in 2016. I was involved with like a lot of Twitter events. And so I was talking to a lot of online authors through social media. And so but it was very superficial, and I would get like sound bites here and there. And I kind of, maybe in a subconscious way, was looking for a mentor who was ahead of me, who's published books. And I wanted to kind of pick their brain, but I couldn't just be like, hi, can you get on a phone call with me? So I kind of decided to do this sneaky thing where I would interview them for a YouTube channel, and I would get all the information that I really was looking for myself, but also platform them and hopefully get them some marketing. And also, so I wanted to also learn about like the querying journey and to hype up fellow authors, because there's just not enough of that. So, okay, this is the strategy. I had to make my channel look a little bit more professional, because the above one is what it looked like before. It was just like random, I don't know, shots of the YouTube. As you see, there's no like consistency in background. There's no consistency in thumbnail. So I got really acquainted with Canva, and you guys know Canva? Yeah. It's great. So I learned how to make a decent thumbnail that looked kind of like the image that I wanted it to look like. And I did want to bulk up a bit of my interviews, even though before I interviewed authors, because I didn't want it to look like I'm just, creepily sliding into their DMs, and I'm like a nobody. I don't have a YouTube channel, you know? So I started to interview more people who were creatives in my life, who were like specifically creative. So I would interview like a photographer that I had, a designer friend that I had. And so it kind of began to get into more creative work. And then I also upped my presence on, at that time, Twitter and Instagram. Yeah. I already had bulked up my social media on Twitter and Instagram when I self-published, because I hired a social media manager at that time. So thankfully I wasn't working from complete scratch, but when I burned out from self-publishing originally, I took a step back. And so I just had to come back and like revive the two channels. Okay, so this is what the final look looked like on my YouTube channel, where I created like a little profile aesthetic. And this is what, you know, I would always, whenever I would decide on the author or guest who I was interviewing, agent or editor, I would have them send me their headshot and maybe other marketing photos that they wanted me to include. And then this is what it would look like. You do want to, if you are doing a YouTube channel, ideally they say you want to choose like a regular time to post, so you have like a little program for viewers that are loyal to you. I try to do it once a week, but my schedule was a little crazy. Even at that time, I was running a business. We were moving, and so I don't know if I ever settled on a specific time. I probably tried to like do Mondays and Wednesdays, whatever's easier. But yeah, that would be ideal. So, okay, meeting the guests. So the first authors, like I said, I did a lot of pitch events on Twitter. And so I had met quite a bit of authors who were kind of in my similar journey. They were querying authors. That's why we were at pitch events. On Twitter, I specifically met them. But as I got into like the genres more, I was writing historical fantasies a lot. So it's funny, I got into like a historical group. I don't know how it happened. I don't even remember at this point. But basically, I think I probably tweeted I responded to somebody's message. And then I ended up meeting quite a bit of historical fiction authors. And that's how it all started. And then it became word of mouth, because they would refer me to one of their author friends. And as the ball began rolling, I got a little bit braver, and I was like, I'm actually going to reach out to maybe authors that have kind of a bulkier history, like somebody who's got maybe some recognition. And I did do that via email usually, or maybe, no, it's probably email, because a lot of them don't have, it's a private DM. And the agents, I only interviewed like a handful of agents and editors, but I reached out to them via Twitter. And eventually I met some people and writers on TikTok, because, as I'll talk about later, about repurposing content. Okay, so most proud accomplishments, I had Catherine Valente on, who's like a multiple bestseller author. She writes kind of in this like fantasy genre, but literary-ish. So she released a middle school book at that time, and I think that's why she came on my very small channel, because, you know, at that time, I think I had like 500 subscribers, and she wanted to predominantly talk about this book, but I actually wanted to talk to her about her previous books, even though I did read this one. And then I also had Gabriel Saab, who's The Last Checkmate book is a historical fiction about World War II. It became a bestseller. Rebecca Thorne, who was TikTok darling, she was a self-published author, and then it became like a bestseller on TikTok, and she got a traditional deal after that. And I actually met Rebecca, and we started talking because of my YouTube channel, which I'll segue later. And And then The Witch and the Tsar is another Russian-American author that I loved. She wrote historical fantasy. And in terms of agents, I interviewed Samantha Wexstein and Catalin Katsoupas and an editor that I think her name was, I don't know, I don't want to lie. But anyways, another editor. Okay, so preparing for the interview, it was the most fun and it was the most work because I tried to read their book, at least the most recently released book, the one that we'll talk about. And sometimes they sent it to me, sometimes I bought it, sometimes I rented it from the library. So it was like a mishmash of how I got the book. Then I would have like a list of questions that were kind of like the same for every author about like what inspires you to write, what are your roots, what's your background, where do you come from, and then we would get into the specifics of their book, and I would then tailor those questions. It usually was about 10 to 15 questions because we would like veer off tangents and talk, and I let the interview be about an hour. And then let's see. Oh, and then step 3, you want your electronics to be in as tip-top shape as they possibly could be. I did not buy a special microphone, so I want you to know, like, your laptop is, like, they make decent microphones. It looks better in terms of optics if you do have, like, a cool microphone setup, but my life was, like, in flux at all times, so I just never invested in it. And but Zoom is how I recorded everything. I would originally, when I had a podcast, I would pull the audio off of Zoom, I think, and then I would edit it. But the podcast and the YouTube became too much, so I scratched the podcast and I just focused on YouTube because I felt like I needed to edit the audio a little bit more than, because with video, I didn't edit at all. I would just put it out as is because you have the visual. So if there's like a long pause and you see a person's thinking about something, it's not a big deal. But if it's just audio and there's like a big gap, it's irritating. And so I wanted to like condense those those gaps. And so I found myself editing the audio way more, and it was becoming too much time. And so I just scrapped the podcast at that time. But I did do the podcast, and it was available on Apple and Spreaker, the Android version. And make sure you have enough space in your computer because it automatically downloads into your computer. And that actually, when I was interviewing agent Caitlin Katsoupas, my computer just crapped out. It was the most embarrassing thing. Middle of the interview, it was awful. And she was gracious enough to come back on later to finish the interview. But that was the only time, thankfully, it happened. All right, so post-interview work, I would announce it on all the social media that I had, which is the same now, Twitter, Instagram, and later I added a TikTok, using the authors sent in before or after the interview. And then this also was kind of time consuming. I would use my phone to screen record the interview, and I would cut it at times for certain subjects and like whatever we're talking about. And then I would post that on Instagram and TikTok. And it was just to promote like short snippet pieces of information about the book, or if I'm talking to an agent about like what they're seeking right now or what they prefer, what are the do's and the don'ts of acquiring them. And again, like time consuming, but it was really helpful actually. A lot of people ended up on TikTok. That's how I grew my little TikTok channel in the beginning. People subscribed to get to that like quick little sound bite of information. And then step 3, I'd always email the author thanking them for coming. And depending on how our chemistry was, our vibe was, it usually was pretty good, and they would introduce me to, maybe they would ask like, oh, do you want to also talk to my friend, or we can do like a particular author introduced me to 2 or 3 other author friends, and they were all mentors in a Twitter contest. I don't know if you guys know Pitch Wars. they were mentors in pitch wars, and then we did like a fun collab where they would talk about their experience in pitch wars, especially because at that time pitch wars was done, like it's not no longer a contest. And so, you know, things like that, we just kind of like organically where it would flow. And of course some authors came on, or we talked about them coming on a second time. Okay, so the pros, I met amazing people that I'm still in touch with, a lot of authors. The pros of running this channel. Yeah, pros against, yes, this is the pros. It helped me build my other social media platforms because of the snippets that I told you guys that I did. And so it helped me when I wrote this book, helped me find authors to do the little author blurbs for the back of the book. And it expanded my own reading list. So I read books that I probably would have not naturally read because I was just casting a really wide net of whoever is going to come on. And I ended up, so this is like a double-edged sword a little bit, because I met and I read a lot of books that I wasn't particularly interested in, and I'm grateful for that. But then I ended up getting a little bit bogged down with that later. And it also put me in the know of what agents and editors are looking for. Like I can't count, like in my personal life, at this point I already had a couple of writer friends that are in my real life, and I would like text them like, okay, this agent's looking for this and this editor's looking for this, and some interesting things resulted from that. Okay, and then the cons of running this YouTube channel. I booked way too many interviews and burned out. Like 1 month toward the end, it was like a momentum thing. At first it was really slow starting. And then towards the fall of that year when I started, I was interviewing an author every week, and that means I was reading a book every week on top of the fact that I was running a business, and just like it was so much. I did not think it through. And reading began to feel a bit like a chore, like I was reading for class, and especially because I was reading, I fell into this interesting genre of author who would write historical fiction a lot about like heavy events. And there were like a couple of them were World War II stories. A couple of them were just like really hard famine stories. And it was just, again, really lovely stories. And I think if you space them out in between like happy reads, adventurous reads, it's totally doable. But I think in like a short period of time, I read so many heartbreaking stories that I was like, okay, I probably need to become a little bit more discerning of who I'm inviting on my channel. Like get some comedy in there, romantic comedy. Yes, I was like, oh, okay, what was I doing? I love history, but I don't know about like only this type of genre of history. And also I had less time to write. So, and I was kind of weighing my priorities at that time. And also we were trying to start the family. It was just it kind of had to go. Ambitious. Yeah. So now, I don't know if you can see. Oh, oops, hang on a minute. Let me see if I could. I didn't realize it was going to do sound. Sorry.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Would it be okay to ask you how many subscribers you have on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I had 500 at the time.
And is that still?
I think it's like 400 something. I probably lost a few since I stopped. It was like 450 maybe.
And your target audience is?
My target audience was readers. It was just readers and other writers, because for the agents, you know, and the editors. Okay. So these are just silly little shorts. I kind of resurrected, like when I decided to self-publish this book, I resurrected my TikTok. And then I started, it was funny because my YouTube helped me start my TikTok, and now my TikTok is helping me to like resurrect my YouTube again. And I'm just focusing on repurposing my TikTok posts as YouTube shorts, just so I'm like maintaining a bit of a presence. So that way, if I do decide to come back in the future to do the interviews, which I haven't completely ruled out, it's not, you know, just like a 3-year gap or something. Like at least there's some kind of presence. And it actually worked. Like I received just like a handful of new subscribers from it. And if I do go back, I've learned a lot in my trial and error. And so I would be doing less interviews. I would definitely intersperse the heavy books with the fun escapist books and romantic comedies and romances and all that. And I would be more discerning of who comes on the channel because of that. It's not because like any of the authors I didn't like. Authors are amazing and they're just like such fun humans because, so dynamic. I didn't have a bad experience interviewing a single author, but it's only the genres that they write. If it's a little too heavy, I would definitely be a little bit more discerning with that. Oh yeah, this is just another, my sister and I. Romance series, those who like romance more, those who like fantasy more. But you guys, I can't hear the audio, so it doesn't kind of loses its effect. It looks a little, I don't know. But I think the audio it's probably on my computer. Oops, sorry. Can you hear, like I can try to make the computer a little lighter. Anyway, it's just silly little shorts.
We were talking about promoting your channel, and you mentioned, making clips and putting them on YouTube and putting them on links on other social media. Did you ask the person that you did the interview with if they would also put it on YouTube?
Yes. Yes. So yeah, you're right. That's a really good question. After when I wrote them like, thank you for coming on my channel. I will be posting. I'll tell them like all the things that I'm posting. And if you want, I think I would send them like the little creative little image that I made for Instagram or something if they want to. I don't think I asked them directly, like, will you also repost this? But I think you could. I think they were all very gracious, and all of them on Twitter especially would repost, retweet, and share, because why wouldn't they? It's, extra marketing for them. So I don't know if I like asked them word for word. I would just tell them like, this is when I'm posting it, this is when it's gonna go live, and this is like the graphics that I'm using. Yes. Yeah.
Pardon me if you already mentioned this. Can I ask what program you use to edit your videos?
I don't edit. I didn't edit. I literally just.
Well, that video right there was.
Oh, that is TikTok. That was TikTok. Yes, it's literal. I film it all in TikTok. I edited it in TikTok, and because then it automatically, when you post it to TikTok, it downloads into your phone, and then you can use it in any place.
You know what? I'm a long-time retired independent filmmaker for almost 30 years. And if you would have showed us that platform 30 years ago, TikTok, we would have thought you were from a different planet.
Yeah.
My daughter Hannah is 15. She's made at least 1,000 videos, edited on, and it's just really amazing.
It's amazing.
Good for you for tapping into that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's great. They make it really seamless and easy. It's, yeah. Okay. I didn't, but I did do lives on social media, and it was actually more for my promotion of my book, because I was always too intimidated to do lives because of like, if somebody needs to get up, I felt weird about like, what do I do? Do I cut it out? And lives, I think people are understanding because it is obviously live and unedited, but I was still like, a little bit cautious with it. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't give you that download.
No.
You can just post it to social media.
Yeah.
From there, you have to pull it.
Yeah.
But knowing that you can do that directly in TikTok.
Yeah.
Because I want to do some short videos.
Yeah.
And that is very.
Yes, and I will tell you two things. One, you can technically, I think CapCut gives you an option to open in TikTok, because CapCut does allow you to download it, but it has their stamp on it, right? Yeah. So if you go into TikTok, if you say open to TikTok, it'll open in TikTok, and then you can make sure that in your settings it's privately set. And then you can, I mean, unless you want to publicly post it to TikTok, you can post it in a private so that only you see it. But the minute you hit post, it's going to download into your phone without any watermarks. Yeah. Or you can also directly edit it in TikTok. But I think it depends on what version of CapCut you have. CapCut could actually have more editing thing. Like really, it gets really nitty gritty with what it could do. It probably could do a little bit more than TikTok. But TikTok does plenty too. So it just depends.
I'm sorry, what is CapCut?
CapCut. I think it might be owned by the same people that own TikTok. I'm not 100% on that, but it's a video editing thing. And I have used it before, and I use it for like meme posts where you, because some things go viral on like TikTok and Instagram. Like it's not a video of me. It's like something pulled from a movie or something, and then you can put your own little captions on it to personalize it, and those are edited in CapCut. It'll say like use in CapCut, and it'll open CapCut, and then you can edit there. Thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about CapCut.
So money, I was wondering, do you have ads on your?
So here's the fun thing. I got into YouTube when they like made it really stringent on how to make money on it. You had to have 1,000 subscribers to make money on YouTube. I know, I got into the game late in the game, and I never got to 1,000 followers. I wasn't doing it for money. I was just doing it, like I said, for the networking and the getting to know people and the information. But I was like, if I ever make it, it'd be fun to earn extra dollar here and there, but I never got there. Yeah.
So another question related to that, because a lot of YouTube channels, they'll verbally talk about a sponsor,
Yeah,
which is financing.
ads.
Is that, do you have to have 1,000 followers to do that?
You probably don't need to have, like, there's no written rule. Technically, if you know somebody who wants to advertise and they know that you have very loyal like listeners and they're gonna post and really listen to you, you probably can get a sponsor, especially now actually, because a lot of businesses are looking for that middle tier because it's not as expensive for them to market, rather than like somebody who has 100,000 followers because they'll charge more. I never did that because it sounds like at that level, I think I probably would have had to reach out to brands and say, hey, I have this channel, because obviously I'm still not known and not recognized. I think the thing is, they probably do want a comma in your subscribers. They probably do want a couple, I think the sweet spot for them is like, as I understand now, is like 5 to 10,000 followers anywhere on social media, on YouTube or whatever. But they like that middle tier where you are not going to be as expensive as somebody who has like the hundreds and thousands of subscribers, but you're also not completely, unknown. So it's a weird like middle tier now. Yeah.
You mentioned that you started out having a social media manager.
Yeah.
What did they do for you, and would you recommend?
Yeah.
Or these days is it easy enough just to do yourself?
So, okay, yeah, this was back in 2016, and who I used was I used Upwork, and Upwork, they have it global, so I found somebody from Bangladesh who charged very little. She was pretty good, and so social media was a different animal, even though it's 2016 seems like yesterday, but it was different back then. They didn't want your face. They wanted, it was more like aesthetic. It was Instagram, mostly images. And so we were in that phase of social media where it's like enough to like have a cute aesthetic picture with like a fun quote on it. And so that's kind of what she did. She would get all the images that would match the aesthetic that we had talked about, and then she would do like quotes. So it was a lot easier to have a social media manager back in the day because you didn't have to show your face. You don't still have to technically show your face, but that content that has your face on it does pretty darn well. It does a lot better than no face. And here's the other thing. I'll bring in some knowledge from my acupuncture, because we tried hiring. I had a different business completely, an herbal business, and we tried hiring a social media manager for that, and that was in like 2020-ish. And it was hard because she was really like, if you guys show your face, it would be a lot better to advertise. Granted, that was a product and not a book, but that's kind of like the gist of social media nowadays. And so what we ended up doing for that is she would send us little TikTok trends, and we would be the ones who would record it and then send it back to her, and then she would put all the like captions and the hashtags, and then it got cumbersome with that. So I don't know if it's worth it nowadays. It also depends on what you're comfortable with and what you want to do. If you don't want to show your face, then it's probably worth it. And I would recommend maybe finding somebody who's pretty affordable on like Fiverr or Upwork. That being said, yeah, if you kind of are listening to social media managers that are gonna kind of push you to show your face, then it gets a little bit hairy with with like you editing it, they're putting it's just too much back and forth. And if you can learn, one social media, do that. They always say like do one at least that you can come back to, whether it's Instagram or TikTok. Or editing in CapCut, and then maybe like dual purposing it. Because right now, all I'm doing is I'm doing the TikTok posting, and once it downloads into my phone, I'll post that into YouTube and I'll post that into Instagram. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Facebook, I don't use it as much. I did create, like in 2016, Facebook was a little bit more valuable. I used it. I created like an author profile for my books, and I would like post events. But I think we're in like scroll culture right now. Everybody just wants to scroll and get like a little soundbite, see funny, ridiculous videos. So Facebook is I think now where Facebook is at, it's like if you already have a platform and an audience on there, and you just like update them of like, I'm going to be doing this thing, or, then it's worth it. But because again, you choose a platform that you're going to be consistent with. And I know that with Facebook, I don't know if it would be worth my energy to like continue to put information there. Although if you post to Instagram, I think you can choose a little thing, it'll automatically post it. Yeah. So it's easy. Yeah. I don't think so, because I have that off of like it automatically posting onto Facebook, because because I created this, I have like a weird thing happening where I have a personal Facebook and then I have an author Facebook, and it got a little convoluted with which one is connected between Instagram, and it would like constantly loop my personal rather than the author. And so I got tired of trying to fix it, and I just shut it off. So I don't do it. Yeah.
So now I know you said podcasts are harder
Yeah.
because you need to edit more
Yeah.
because of awkward pauses.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that as a medium these days? Because I listen to podcasts like all the time when I'm doing
Yeah.
laundry, or I just listen to
Yeah.
all kinds of literary ones. And
I think it's definitely, I think these days it's pretty simple. If you could just extract the audio and you can post it, and you don't care about the ums, or like your readers won't care about the ums, I think they probably won't. I think it was all in my head because I was starting and I didn't want to. I had this weird idea of like it had to be a little bit more pristine. And I think nowadays with like TikTok culture, which is like not pristine at all. When I started this, TikTok I don't think it existed. I think it was Instagram. And Instagram, as we know, is like the aesthetic sister, and TikTok is the like whatever in your PJ sister. And so I think people care less and less and less about making it look ideal or sound ideal. So it's definitely an option that's much easier to probably these days.
Yeah, I had one comment about Facebook. One of the things I learned is if you have a good following on Facebook, if you post a YouTube video on Facebook, they don't like when you go to other platforms, and they're not going to spread that. And I noticed when I upload my video right from the video file, I get I might get 5,000, 10,000 views. But if I post it to YouTube, I'm going to get 20 or 30.
Yeah.
So that's just
Yeah.
I have trouble with when I do a video and I've got it and I try and send it, it always tells me my file's too big. Even if it's a 25-second, little snippet. What do you do?
You mean send it like a text message or send it where?
Yeah, anything. I'm not as tech savvy, so I'm learning all that process. So what do you do? Is there a compression software that an app I need to have on my phone?
This is getting like probably beyond my technical capabilities, but I just made sure that if it was, because if you're compressing it, then it might get weird when you actually open it somewhere else. So I think when I did my like screen recording and then I would upload that, like send it to myself and upload it, I just made sure that they're like 10, 15 seconds long. And I didn't have an issue with 10, 15 second long. I think if you get beyond 20 seconds, maybe you do run into the file being too big. So in your case, maybe what you do is you divide it into two, and then you'll have like part 1 and part 2. And now you have more content too.
Either that or put your videos in either Google Drive or the other cloud. Put your videos in there, man.
Yeah.
Either in the cloud and then send the link to the cloud of the video that's in the cloud, and people got your video. You won't have any problems with that at all. It's
There's that too,
Dropbox and Google Drive.
Yeah, there's that too.
So Tracy just sent me a 41-second video. How did you send that, Tracy?
I do more videos. I don't know, like 9 minutes.
Yeah.
I will do, what do you send them to?
Well, if I try to send them to myself or
Like an email?
email, Gmail, if your file is too big.
Yeah. You know how many pictures that it was pretty, I'm supposed to have my manager, so I'm just kidding. So it took me to automatically create a computer guide. So is it possible that maybe?
Okay, I'll check my settings, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Yes, you said you did some historical fiction too. Is that on your website or?
In terms of me writing, or in terms of, so that book is, The Vengeance and Flame. I categorize it as fantasy only because it's more speculative than fantasy. There's like a tiny bit of speculative element in it. It's mostly historical. I don't think I have like a full-on historical that I've released yet, but I am working on one right now, which is a historical dark comedy about the planning of Rasputin's assassination. So we'll see what happens with that story. Yes.
A lot of times now, when people have a podcast, they do it on Substack, which is audio and video.
Yeah.
Would you consider that a good platform to go to?
Substack is great, especially if you're writing nonfiction or doing nonfiction stuff. Substack is like huge in articles, and I do think that people with fiction work also use it because it's great for writers. I think that's probably a bit of a harder sell. I think people go less for Substack if it's fiction, and but if you're doing a podcast, then yeah, it's definitely, I think, something that you could do. It's just another platform that I haven't explored yet. And it's one of those things where, if you guys want to start this and it feels overwhelming, choose the platforms that you're going to do and you want it, and like that are interesting to you, and stick to those for a little bit. It'll come a point where it becomes so robotic and automatic that you'll have this bandwidth to like explore different avenues and different platforms, and then you can start posting it to that. But yeah, I did YouTube only because it just seemed a little bit easier and more manageable. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think it just looks good. And I think it probably makes your audio a little bit better. I honestly don't think it makes your audio like humongously better. But I think it's just, it is better. It's crisper sound. And if somebody's only like listening to audio and they're listening to probably somebody who's using a mic, and then they switch over to yours and you're not using a mic, it probably will be a little bit more grainy to the ear, but you don't have to.
Did you worry about location when you interviewed somebody in terms of like the surroundings
Yeah. I try to keep it consistent. So for a while, we moved from the Bay Area to Sacramento in 2021, around the time when I was doing a lot of these. And so my background did change, but I tried to keep it consistent. When I was in the Bay, like once I started interviewing authors, I tried to make it consistent. And then once I moved to Sacramento, I tried to make it consistent there. I think I did have to change it once or twice. But that's okay because you see people changing location once or twice too, even like with a lot of subscribers. But yes, I tried to keep the background the same because ideally you do want to keep it the same. You know, that's why a lot of podcasters have like either the same background or like just curtains. So it's like super easy. I don't know if that's just like a prop that they carry with themselves so they can like wherever they are, it'll look the same. Yes, definitely. And in terms of sound, I just tried to make sure that it was going to be a quiet. I think one time we were remodeling our bathroom and they were jackhammering into the floor, and I had an interview set, and I had to like, it was a bit of a panic moment. So I do not recommend that. But it worked out. I think I had to move rooms, and then like I think we changed it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Any other info? Questions? You can. You can. The thing about that though, because it's not 100% always gonna like have your head cut out perfectly. If you move, it gets a little wonky and it looks funny sometimes. So you can. The thing is, you can do any of these things when you're starting out. Like the most important thing is to start. And if you feel like it's overwhelming with the background or the whatever, just start and start doing it. And then you can like one video at a time, make the changes that you want to make it look eventually. Like I said, I mean, if you look at the thumbnail that the thumbnail changes, you know, like you just started, it looked mishmashy in the beginning. And then you finally figure out, okay, this is what it's going to aesthetically look like. And yeah.
Just one more question. This seems a little maybe weird, but did you do any analytics? Like you can do it with Facebook, Instagram, see what, you know, like what you follow, how long they listen.
Yes. Yes, YouTube has that too. YouTube has the analytics. Yeah, it was helpful, but because I was in a place where I was just casting a wide net and I was just trying to start, I wasn't like specifically like, okay, this genre of author did better than this genre of author, and I'm gonna like, that's what I would do now because I have the experience that I would do, and I would be like, again, more discerning. I would look at analytics, and I would combine like my interests with analytics interests, and I would definitely do it. I think my most successful, ironically, even though I wanted to do this with writers, my most watched videos are the agent ones. Yeah, because agents aren't like commonly interviewed. I guess it's getting more common now, but I think for a while they seemed like a bit like mysterious and they're like the gatekeepers, and so authors really want to listen to that. And I've seen really high-end agents come onto YouTube channels that are like under 100 subscribers, and that looked like kind of a mess in terms of aesthetics. And he did great in terms of this particular thing, the person that I'm thinking of. You could tell like he did a great job of like keeping the thumbnails look consistent. But a small YouTube channel, just like simple little video, I think some of those videos had like 20 views, and agents were still coming onto his channel. So I think agents are like the ones that like love their work and are passionate. They'll come on to anybody's channel to talk to. Like that really, when I saw that, I was less intimidated for sure. I was like, okay, it's not so bad.
How do you look, I'm just curious about the analytics part. So do you look at the numbers on the video thing?
So yeah, on the back end of YouTube, there's like a whole analytics page, and it's like this graph essentially where it'll show you your YouTube video, and it'll say like how many people watched, how many subscribers you got, like what's the average watch time, and like recently if you had any watches, and it'll tell you all that information.
Does it do it by different YouTube, or are they all the YouTubes that you do?
No, it's the videos that I upload. It's the videos that I have uploaded. Yeah.
Have said you've interviewed agents. Have you ever interviewed a secret agent?
No, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Yeah, it's true. Maybe they were.
Okay. Thank you so much. We enjoyed every minute.